You can't make that guillotine joke anymore. People are getting kicked off of the socials for making threatening claims. We're alive. We are
Or is it Memorex?
alive.
Hello, Erica. How are you?
I am well, Mr. Chernin. How about yourself?
I'm good. And as usual, the most outrageous thing of the day. I mean, we'll start with politics. We're gonna call this WAPO and weapons of war,
Oh,
right?
here we
So
go. Okay.
here we go, right? You can't make this stuff up. So the Washington Post, WAPO, this
Wapo.
whole dust up about Tim Walz, the governor, who's now the VP candidate on the Harris Walz ticket, said that he carried weapons in war,
Oh, yeah. He
right?
shouldn't. People shouldn't
Right.
have the same weapons that he carried in war. Yeah.
Right. The problem
It's.
is he never carried them in war. So, but this is really about journalistic fidelity, right? Because journalism used to be such
Okay.
an honorable profession. So the Washington Post labels it as mostly false, and it said he did carry weapons of war. He just didn't carry them in the war, which is what he actually said. He said that I carried in the war these weapons. So I sit there and I roll my eyes and go, it still comes down to what the meaning of the word is all the time, right? It's
Yes.
this parsing of language that no one seems to care about because either you're honest and you say something truthful or you're not and you're spinning. And then I want to know who checks the fact checkers,
Well, and
who checks WAPO and the other journalists.
they know they
It's
can get away with
outrageous.
it. That's the thing, Robert. They know they can say whatever they want, and the media is going to carry their water. Mostly false, bro.
Ugh,
Bro, come
I know,
on.
but
Look, I do not demean National Guard service in any kind of way.
no, of
I,
course not.
obviously
But
we need people.
don't lie about it. Don't lie
Yeah,
about it.
when you say that I carried in war, I assume that you are in a combat situation, somebody's shooting at you, there's danger involved.
Right.
But if you haven't deployed, you've really only carried it in training. You haven't
Here's his
carried it in
exact
war.
quote. And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where the weapons are at. So, I'm sorry, WAPO, get it right. It's not, I mean, stop parsing it. Just just give us the news. In any event, let's roll them. That's sort of my outrage of the day. I read the papers and I just sort of go, no wonder we're in a mess because journalists don't report things neutrally or with
Never.
neutrality, I guess.
Damn neutrality.
Hello, and welcome to Of the People. After Saturday comes Sunday. And no, we are not talking about days of the week. What we are talking about is a proverb that basically says after Saturday comes Sunday, meaning after you get rid of the Jews, they're coming after the Christians next, right? That's what this means. So, against the backdrop of Iran about to launch an attack on Israel through Hezbollah, and there is some now intel that says that there are ground plans after the air war. It begs the question in this country is, are Jews safe anywhere in America? And let's look at the facts. So to start with, 80% of the world's Jewish population lives in two countries, Israel and America. Israel is currently under attack from an external enemy. The United States is under attack from an internal enemy, witnessed by the protests several weeks ago in Washington, D.C., let alone on college campuses, where now we hear death to America inside our country. So the enemy is clearly inside the gate here. But let's look at the facts. Remember Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who said at the beginning of the war that Israel cannot Hamas and therefore they should strive for peace, as opposed to saying Israel has a right of self-defense and all this. And obviously, the Jewish community prizes higher education. The Ivy League colleges, you saw, what was it, MIT, University of Pennsylvania, and Harvard, the presidents of each, who basically, when asked, is anti-Semitism hate speech, parsed words like the Clintons used to Depends on what the meaning of the word is yet again. And there you see it. You keep going down this list. The United States was holding back weapons on Israel. They did not veto a UN General Assembly UN General Assembly motion that Israel was committing war crimes. And you go down the list, the Iran policy here. We have been coddling Iran. We have given them back oil. We have given them back money. So you go through all of this list, and let's not forget, Prime Minister Netanyahu, foreign head of state, was in D.C., and not only was he not greeted at Andrews Air Force Base by any delegation from the White House, both the president and the vice president refused to be at the speech, along with many Democrats. And then there was another security breach where there was all this bed bugs and lice and others and smoke bombs set off at the Watergate Hotel. Now you look at the proposed Harris-Walz ticket, and all I can tell you is if Donald Trump was the most pro-Israel president that America ever had, potentially Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are potentially the least or most pro-Hamas president and vice president that we would ever have in all of this. Going back to Kamala Harris wants to ban the term radical Islam. Who does that sound like? If you search on the internet, that was first put forward in 2008 by then President-elect Barack Obama, who forbid his administration to use the term radical Islam because it says it paints Islam with a broad brush. No, it doesn't. It just calls out the enemy and what they are. We're not talking about all of Islam. We're talking about those who are radicalized, which is a percentage of. So at this point, you have to ask yourself, is it safe to be a Jew in America? I was at a conference some months ago and someone said, well, why do they hate the Jews? And my response was, they don't just hate the Jews. If they drive the Jews into the sea, because that's what it means, right? From the river to the sea, from the Jordan River to the Red Sea. If they drive the Jews into the sea, I asked that gentleman, I said, are you Christian? He said, yes. I said, you're next. The Jews are the tip of the spear. So it really begs the question are the golden years in this country for Jewish Americans over? Because I will tell you one thing, elections have consequences. At least something in this country has consequences. It seems nothing else does these days, right? And it really drives home the point that never again is now. And that's the monologue. And segueing to the main show, I was thrilled to have with us Food Network chef and star, author, inspirational speaker, pro-Israel activist, if I can add that to your Melissa Mayo. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us on Of the People.
You were having me on the show. I'm so humbled and so grateful and really, really excited to be here.
And we appreciate you take your time. You're taking the time to join us. And I know you're about to jump on a jet plane tomorrow. So the fact that we could fit this in is excellent. I want to jump right in because, and what people don't know is you've agreed to be part of Israel Appreciation Day and being part of our program. And we're thrilled. Talk about your love for Israel, why it's so important and why you agreed to participate in the event.
Well, I always say I was born in South Africa and, I lived between Italy and LA, but if you're Jewish, Israel's home. It just is. It's home. If the whole world goes, like you say, belly up, we're heading home. So Israel is the reason the Holocaust will never happen again, because we had the state. And I have to say, when I first went as a young kid, I don't know, I got off the plane and I just had this overwhelming urge to, and I've never done this anywhere else I've traveled in the world, but just to kiss the ground. It's a beautiful country with so much rich history. And let's not even start on how delicious the food is and the people. And I mean, from every corner of Israel, there's just warmth and love. It's home. It's home.
Well, and the whole country really is built. It's like it's so small, and so it's like every single corner is history. There's some history everywhere you go, and that's got to be really awe-inspiring.
Absolutely, and I have to say, actually, I would say to me, even more moving than the cartel itself, is the mikvahs. When you go into the walled, the walled city, and they take you on a tour, you see this mikvah that is, over 2,000 years old. And, they always say, before you build a shul, you should build a mikvah. And this series of amazing aqueducts that actually carried the water miles and miles and miles on a gradient of like 8 degrees.
An inch. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they were able to do that. And then, you'd again on the top of Masada. I was actually lucky enough to get a letter in the Sefer Torah there. But the mikvahs for me are just beyond amazing and beyond incredible. I find so much history in them. And I also I love water. I went searching in the Kinneret for Miriam's well. I went on a 2-hour swim. I did not find it, but yes, it's just steeped in history. Every corner, every stone, and it is just, there's an energy to it, from the scuba diving in Eilat to the pace and the energy of like Tel Aviv to the gorgeous Bay of Haifa, all the way to like the holiness of Jerusalem. And what I love so much about it is so colorful. It's made up of all races, religions, colors. And speaking of Saturday and Sunday people, I don't think a lot of people know this, but over 80% or 75% of tourists in the past are, people coming to see the Via Dolorosa and the 14 Stations of Christ. They're Christian tourists. More than 70% of tourists coming to Israel are Christians.
Really?
Yes.
More than 70%?
Well, I don't know correct. Now. I'm sure now there's been an influx of Jews. I mean, it's the only country in the world that goes to war and ends up with 300,000 people flying home to be in the war zone. And I have to say, I feel really safe there. I feel safer in Israel than I do in the States right now. But yes, 70% of tourists are coming to see the 14 Stations of Christ and go up to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and go and see where Jesus walked on water at the Kinneret. There is a large percent of tourists that are Christians.
So I want to just, I don't know how much if you know the answer to this, but that is an astonishing number. So they go to war and 300,000 people traveled there on like
went back to Israel, and over 200,000 regular people with jobs in medicine and law and from all over the world left their families, got on a plane, and went to serve in the IDF again.
Wow.
And people that had finished their service. It's the only country that goes to war. And people flock to it.
I mean,
and I think is so beautiful too is how many
we've got military age. Oh, I'm sorry, Melissa. We've got military aged men from Ukraine showing up on our southern border. People fleeing their countries that they don't want to defend, and you've got Israelis flying home. That is
tell you another interesting fact as well. So I have a very large audience on social media, and a good portion of them are actually Indians, Hindus. And I have to tell you that when the war broke out, I had messages from a huge percent of my Indian audience asking, can we go volunteer? Can we go fight in the IDF? Can we help you?
Wow.
We remember how you helped us in our war. We have a long memory. We're very, very loyal. And I just want to say right now that it upsets me that, if you've got Nigerians and Sudanese and Hindus dying all over the world, and no one says anything. I mean, on the coast of the continent of Africa, they're just literally killing the Christians. And now what's going on in Bangladesh? But if there's no Jews, there's no news. I mean, we need a country. We need a state, because the world is not a safe place. I know if I have to, I'm running back to Israel.
You bring up the other genocides, no Jews, no news. There is a genocide going on in Bangladesh and again, who's doing the killing? whether it's Boko Haram or whoever in Africa or and I forget I forget who it was in Bangladesh, but basically radical Islam is killing off the Christians and killing in Africa, and is killing off the Hindus in Bangladesh, and the world and the journalists don't do anything about it. And I have to be honest, what really gets my hackle up, and I lived through the Iran-Contra crisis, I'm sorry, the Iran hostage deal, when we were, much younger, and I saw what happened there. People ask me about the hostages, and I say to them, there's no hostages. And they look at me like this, and I said, well, if there were hostages, they would be on the front page of every newspaper on every day until they came home. So since that's not happening,
by now. Yep.
Right.
There
of course,
are
there's no
American
hostages.
as well. I mean,
Right. Exactly.
Where's the effort? But I have seen this, horrific stuff going on in the African continent for years. They come in, they take over these tribes, they put the children into the mines, they pile them up and shoot them. I mean, what's going on? And there's Sudan and Nigeria and Congo and nothing,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. And then you've got, I think the real truth is that, firstly, Muslims don't like themselves. They are killing each other more than anyone else has ever killed another race. They absolutely kill each other. But then you've got the infidel. The infidel is anyone who is not a Muslim. And what upsets me is how uninformed the youth are. They stand in these protests in their short little shorts with their crop tops, and they're like, free Palestine, free Palestine. They did not understand that what they want is a caliphate world. Everyone to be in hijabs, everyone to be Islam, and if you don't convert, you die. Have you ever noticed that a lot of these protests in the Middle East and in Europe, they're just men. Women have absolutely no rights. You can't go to school. You can't travel alone. You have to cover your hair. I mean, I see videos from the 60s in Iran where there was the royal family. Oh my God. It was like Studio 54. And it's such a beautiful and rich country. But everyone protested for the Me Too movement when they were trying to get their ability to show their hair in Iran. Where are they now?
Feminists only care about rights in the United States. They don't care about women's rights anywhere else. And I think what you've posed there is really interesting. If there is all this religious persecution going on around the world, why aren't we hearing about it? Why aren't we hearing about the hostages in Israel? What? And Robert, you always say, follow the money. Why do you think
follow the money? Well,
the truth.
Go ahead, Melissa.
The truth is that we are just a hated religion. It's nothing new. Anti-Semitism is nothing new. It's the oldest form of hate. And we're less than 2% of the world's population, but they're obsessed with us. We take up so much space in their brain that I find it laughable. I really, really do. And yet all the contributions in medicine and science and philanthropy have come from the Jewish people. And we're successful because we were forced to be. My grandparents landed up on boats out of the World War I pogroms in South Africa. And, we came to all these shores with nothing. And we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we worked really hard, and we've added so much to the world. I mean, I can't think of any inventions that the Muslims have added. And, the actual Quran itself is a peaceful book. They don't actually ask for you're not allowed to hurt women, you're not allowed to hurt the elderly, you're not allowed to hurt children. It all went sideways when Muhammad came along, and all of a sudden he had this 6-year-old child bride, and that's when it became death to America, death to Israel. I mean, the flag of the Houthis, it's death to America. Israel's just in the way. We're the little Satan. America is really what they hate. And my friends that lived through the Iranian regime said they used to chant every morning in school, death to America, death to Israel. I mean, I don't understand how people cannot understand. Israel is fighting a war for humanity right now.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
and
It's a battle. It's a battle of Western civilization versus Islam, and there's a fundamental incompatibility between the two. And as I said in the monologue, what most people don't understand is it's not just about the Jews. We're the tip of the spear. We're the canary in the coal mine. This is a battle of civilization, and America needs to wake up, because we're heading towards England, or we're heading towards France, because the enemy's inside the gate, the people who hate America and want to transform it into something else. But the thing, I want to come back to Israel, because first of all, thank you. You have made the argument as to why Israel Appreciation Day, the event on September 18th, is so very important, because we're focusing on all of the things you just touched upon, which is not just that Israel is a Jewish state or the Jewish homeland, not just that Israel is a strategic U.S. ally, but it's all those things, from women's rights to human rights to freedom of religion, freedom of the press, capitalism, rule of law, democracy, the medical and technological advances that Israel has contributed to the world. But this country, and frankly, most of the world, doesn't know about it, because all they hear is the simple narrative: Israel equals occupier equals bad, Hamas or Palestinians equals victims equals good. That's their narrative. And we have no counter programming to that, because most people, led by the media, do not deliver that message in an even-handed way, because they have an agenda. And the youth, how shall we call them? I would say uninformed. I would say some of my friends would call them stupid, but useful idiots would be another term.
I think we should increase the voting age to beyond 30. I really do. I think
I'm totally with that. For people who don't know, the voting age, I think it used to be like 35 or something like that. And that was when everyone died at age 37. So basically, so I'm with you on that. But continue.
And I have to say, I came from a country where and they love to say South Africa stands with Gaza and the Palestinians, but they don't. Predominantly, they don't. And it was a country that switched to a free democracy. Mandela was voted in, and his words always echo through me. It's like, people are not born hating; they're taught to hate. And if they can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And that's why I think it is so critical when Bibi, speaks about the plans for Gaza and going forward, that there has to be a re-education of the youth, being taught not to hate. It's indoctrinated into them from such a young age, and our tax dollars are going to these UNRWA schools, and they're teaching these kids to chant death to America, death to the Jews. It starts with the education, and we can see that I have one of these TikTok generation kids, but we can see that there's been, COVID did nobody any favors, and social media has made it really, really difficult for them to really get informed history. I mean, the fact is, if we are the colonizers, then why is the Dome of the Rock built on 2 of our prior temples? Why? Why are there coins dating back to 2 AD? Why does the Quran continue speaking about the children of Israel? And that even the Quran itself, the book they study, says Israel belongs to the children of Israel. And if you were to go to Israel, you would see the largest gay pride parade that happens in Asia, in Israel. You have Muslims living side by side with Druze, side by side with Christians. And they call us, they go back to Poland. Most Jews are not even white. But funnily enough, the Sephardic, the Mizrahi, and the Ashkenazi Jews all, if you tested us, have the exact same DNA. What other race on this planet, no matter where you come from, no matter what your skin color is, your DNA is identical. And they're boycotting Israel. Well, ban the boycott. Well, while you're at it, down your phone and put down your computer and don't go to any doctors. I have a friend who is one of the CEOs of IsraAid, and a lot of people don't know this, but IsraAid is an amazing nonprofit. Up until October 7th, they had actually never ever provided any support within Israel. They'd worked in 16 countries around the world during tsunamis and earthquakes. They
And no
actually,
one knows
at one point, helped the imams to correctly wash the bodies for burial, because what they were doing in Africa, they were washing the bodies, but the bodies water was running into the actual water source, and it was creating Ebola. But, Israelis have not only been able to desalinate water, seawater, and turn it into water, but they now have a technology that's going to be able to take carbon dioxide out of the ocean. It's going to be able to turn air into water. All cutting edge advances are made by Israeli scientists. We have given so much back to the world.
And we'll learn all about it at Israel Appreciation Day. And so let's hear more about that event coming up.
Why Israel Appreciation Day? Because no one is telling the Israel story about why Israel's existence is so important, not just as a Jewish state, and not just as an ally of the United States, but for all the positive achievements Israel has contributed to the world in science, technology, medicine, human rights, religious freedoms, rule of law, democracy, and so on. We need to start winning the public relations information war and change the narrative, especially among our younger generations. We need to get the information out there and arm those people who understand the seminal importance of Israel to the world. And being the Jewish homeland doesn't begin to tell that story of why Israel is so important. It's something we all can come together on, and honestly, it's something we all must come together on. It is imperative the general public understands the nature of the very special relationship between Israel and the United States, and Israel's importance to the world. So please join us on September 18th as we celebrate Israel Appreciation Day. You'll also be able to find us live on all the streaming channels, including Roku, Apple TV, Dish Network, and others. Because never again is now.
And we're back with Melissa Mayo of the Food Network.
TV star, author, inspirational speaker. Melissa, you live somewhere
and
in
our
California.
favorite African American.
I know. I wish there are more African American than a lot of people here.
That's funny. That's funny. I want to talk a little bit about Hollywood, right? What's the tone and temperament of Hollywood, and how much pro-Israel support is there? I mean, we there's a couple of the A-listers, whether it's Michael Douglas or it's Deborah Messing, or there's a few others who have been very vocal. Well, others I think were very vocal around October 7th, but have since sort of been muted. What's the antisemitism that's there, and how prevalent is it outside, let's say, the UCLA campus?
Look, Beverly Hills, bless Beverly Hills, the city of Beverly Hills has an incredible mayor, Lily, and she actually has she has been very pro-Israel from the get-go. She's had the police station lit up. She has been very, very vocal supporting Israel, had flag demonstrations. But I have to tell you, I am really disappointed in Hollywood in general. I think that people are too afraid of being canceled. I have to be honest, if I'm going to be canceled, I'm going to be canceled for speaking up. And I don't know why they're so afraid. I shifted my platform when October 7th happened. I said, you've got a lot of people following you. And I have to tell people listening now, it doesn't matter if you have 1 follower or 1 million, you need to use your voice. But I actually picked up like 8,000 followers from switching to this pro-Israel message. So I don't know why everybody is so afraid of being canceled. I really think they have big platforms, they have a lot of influence, and they should be speaking up. I think their grandparents and their ancestors would be ashamed at them. They would be ashamed to watch 6 million of us being marched into gas chambers, over 1 million of them, Jewish children. And there's not a Jew that has not heard a Holocaust survivor speak. How can you have a platform and stay silent? It's as if you are condoning it. Your voice matters. Your voice matters.
Isn't it just to me?
It's deafening. The silence is deafening. It's deafening.
To me, just by the nature, like if you feel like you have to be silent and be afraid to speak up for like in support of your people, like shouldn't that tell you something is wrong? Like
But
is it,
Ericka, it's not just support of your people; it's in support of humanity. I mean, whether you're
Absolutely.
whether you're Jewish or whether you're Christian, and
Yeah.
or frankly, even Muslim, a certain part of the Muslim population, you're talking about humanity. You're talking
Right.
about human decency. Part of the problem is been we have now been so conditioned. I would argue it started with Obama. I mean, you know where I am on that. And Melissa, what we call it is the 3Ds, right? Demagogue, demonize, and divide, right? Divide the country, make them scared to speak up. We went from political correctness, death by political correctness, from safe spaces to where you can't say things to offend anybody, to safe campuses, to safe speech where you can't say anything. And therefore, people are now conditioned to be fearful and to be silent. So, Ericka, to your point.
What is this? It's like a cancel culture. What?
Right.
Mhm.
Like everyone is so afraid of being cancelled, and now you've got the Prime Minister in the UK saying that they actually will arrest you. They'll come to America to arrest you if you speak out on social media. Like, where do they have the time and the resources for this? And what I find is just a suck on humanity is people aren't contributing. They're living off the systems. They're living off the systems and hard paying taxpayers. Their money is being sent to our enemies. I know people always say, well, there's a big deal that we just gave $3 billion to Israel. It's not free money. First off, Israel has to pay for those weapons. Okay? They have to pay for them. And they have to reinvest the money back in American businesses. Number two,
That's right.
Israel is inventing technology like the Iron Dome, which America is going to use to save themselves. There are advances in military and weaponry, that have come from Israel that will protect the West. You're giving us money to research and technology that's going to help you defend yourself.
But we don't want to defend the West, right? Because the West is terrible. We need to tear it down.
The West
be
is a colonial power.
unburdened by what has
Right.
been.
Well, I have to say, I'm an American citizen. I'm very proud to be an American citizen. I grew up in South Africa, but I love this country. And to see their flags being burnt and chanting death to America, put them on a plane and send them back to where they came from.
Melissa,
and another thing as well is Palestine is the only refugee country in the world where you can hand your refugee status down from generation to generation. Everywhere else in the world, you're a refugee. And when you get settled in a new place and you get your home and you're no longer homeless and you've been absorbed, you're not a refugee anymore. You've got the Hadid family who probably haven't spent a day in Gaza. The way they dress, they would be killed if they went there. But everyone is a Palestinian refugee. The genocide has happened in the Middle East and throughout the world, where the Jews were forced out of their ancestral homeland and they were sent out and they were kicked out.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's about the Jews.
Because
it's okay.
But you see, that double standard breaks my heart, because for the past week I've been combing the news looking for articles about what's going on in Bangladesh. Looking for articles. And there's nothing. It's like crickets. It's okay to murder people as long as,
as long as they're Jews or Christians.
That's it.
And as long as the Jews aren't defending themselves, because everyone's entitled to self-defense except the Jews.
And I think that the big problem has been to take God out of the system, because, I saw France going this way and the UK going this way a long time ago. I remember going and seeing the landscape of Paris and thinking, this is not the Paris I visited. And I have a house in Italy. And 4 years ago, when the prime minister came in, everyone said, well, she's with the Mussolini party and she's going to be anti the Jew and blah, blah, blah. And she said, I'm a very good friends with Bibi. I'm a supporter of the Likud party. But you know what she said? Hell no. Closing our borders. You keep moving. You keep arriving on our shores with refugees. I'm not giving you the benefits that Germany and the Dole and France and all these places. Just keep moving through. And as a result of her closing her borders, and she said, I'm not doing the whole woke thing. There's a man and there's a woman and there's God and there's a family. And she's like, we're not saying we don't like homosexual people. We do. You can practice whatever sexual preference you want, but we're not changing like what it is to be a family. And she just kept them moving through. And as a result, she's probably that's the only country right now in Europe that stands a chance.
Mm. Well, and it's interesting listening to you talk and thinking about what we're seeing with the mass migration of Muslims out of Africa and the Middle East, whether it's to Europe or America. And it's almost, dare I say, like the Crusades, just without the guns yet.
Yet.
But you say
yes,
yet, and there are plans the Russians are already making plans to take over Sudan. And what I don't understand is, our enemies were broke. They were on their knees. When you have Russia and China standing with the Palestinians, you have to question yourself. We are the West. We are free. These people who left the countries of their origin left because they were being persecuted. They came to the West for a better life. They left because they were segregated, and as women, they had no rights. And then you come to the West, you're given all the opportunities, and I can tell you America has given me so many opportunities. And then I wanted to convert the country I'm living into the one I left. Why didn't you just stay there?
It's not logical. It's a religious war. That's what this is. Look, wokeism is just a current manifestation of an old religion made new. You know that, Melissa.
Yeah.
Right. It's an age-old religion, and it's noted by its zealotry and intolerance. And I tell people they don't understand Iran. And I said, you can no more reason with a mullah in Iran than you can, a space alien, right? Because they don't have the same frame of reference. They don't have the same values. They don't value life the same way. And it is a clash of cultures, and only one culture is going to win this.
Well, they're all taught that, to martyr yourself is the way you end up with your 72 virgins in heaven. I mean, whereas we want to protect our children and we want to keep them safe and we want to educate them, they glorify the killing. I mean, you've got mothers celebrating that their children are dying. I mean, the way I was raised, and I have to tell you, some of the most God-fearing people and the nicest people I know are my Catholic friends in Italy. They are the nicest, most God-fearing people, really. But the way I was raised, there are 10 commandments, and there are basic rules. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, don't be jealous of your neighbor, don't, covet their possessions. At the end of the day, these are principles of family and God. Respect God, remember the Sabbath. I mean, they keep it's the Saturday people, the Sunday people. It's only in Islam that there is this absolute lack of respect for life. I believe the only entity, the only source that's entitled to take life is God. We are defending ourselves. We didn't ask for this war. We didn't want this war. And I love what Douglas Murray says. He says, Israel is the only country in this world not allowed to win a war. So you pick a war with us, you start the war, and then the second you start losing, you cry. You pick the war.
Yep. So
and we kept giving away land and giving away land. You know why they say the river to the sea? It's because actually in the Torah, the river is mentioned. But the river that God gifted the people in the Bible is actually the Euphrates River.
That's right.
The sea. If you look at it on the map, the whole Middle East pretty much is the land that God gifted the Jewish people. And we have got the sliver of land that's smaller than the Kruger National Park. You can drive across some parts of Israel in 20 minutes. You can drive up and down Israel in a day. It's got all diverse climates. It is rich. It has contributed so much to the world, and the amount of philanthropy that the Jewish people have done, not for fellow Jews, for humanity. I mean, I was in New York recently, and there's a whole section of New York where the Rockefeller gave a massive amount of land, and all those hospitals are, were gifted and built and donated by Jews. And we don't turn away treatment. Some of the kids that were taken into Gaza, into the Strip, used to go backwards and forwards, bringing Palestinians into Israel to be treated. I mean, the head of Hamas himself received treatment in an Israeli hospital. We are not, our religion is not one where we are permitted to take life. We're just not. So, to call us baby killers, we're doing everything we can. If Israel really wanted to minimize this war, they would have dropped a carpet bomb day one, and the war would have been over. They have the capabilities to have leveled Gaza to ash. It's not. Jewish people love humanity. We respect all religions. And as I say, as a Jew, I've read Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, and I've read about the work of, Mother Teresa, and the work of St. Francis. I respect all religions. Every human being breathing, inhaling and exhaling, is God's favorite child. And people always say, well, you say you're the chosen people. No, there's a big difference. We were chosen to be a light to the nations. We were chosen to show the other nations the way back to the light. But we weren't chosen. God doesn't love me any more than he loves the Catholic or the Buddhist or the Hindu. He loves every one of his children, and that is by virtue of the fact we're inhaling and exhaling. When he has no more use for us, we will stop breathing. But he's the only one allowed to take life.
Melissa, as much as it pains me, we have to go to break. You are a fire hose of positivity, and I am thrilled to have you not only on the show, but ladies and gentlemen, she is going to be one of the speakers. She has graciously consented at Israel Appreciation Day on September 18th. And Melissa, your positivity flows through all of you, and the fight that I hear from you is what I think is sorely missing amongst, let's call it, our brethren in the Jewish community, who for the longest time have been the supporters of this whole social justice movements, plural, that really have been anti-Semitic to begin with, right? So thank you for coming on. I know you've got a full day ahead because I know you're jumping on a plane. I do think we should do our next show in it with you, and maybe in the kitchen when you're cooking, which is really also what you're so good at and passionate about. But for me, from Ericka, we want to thank you for taking the time to come on Of the People. It has been great just to spend some time talking with you about Israel and the politics of it and anti-Semitism, and really the passion you bring to all of this is inspiring, to be honest.
Robert and Ericka, thank you for having me on. I look forward to being part of this event. And I'm going to just end by saying this. You always have a choice. You can lean into your faith, or you can lean into your fear. So everyone should lean more into their faith. They should find little ways to spread love and to spread kindness. And your voice matters. Even if you have one follower, use it. And don't forget to vote.
Well said. Melissa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Amen.
Socialism. The goal of socialism is communism. The world is quite familiar with socialism and the horrors socialism has brought with it. It wasn't that long ago. Actually, it's still with us. Socialism creeps into government slowly until it's too late. Socialism, the big lie. Yes, it could happen anywhere. This educational video was brought to you by the American Center for Education and Knowledge. and paid for by people like you who care about the future of our democracy. Please help us continue our work educating the American public and consider supporting ASIC by making a tax-deductible donation at asicfund.org.
All right.
And we're back. And all I have to say about Melissa, to Melissa, for Melissa is if you could clone people in the world, we should clone her, because her passion, her insight, her strength is inspiring, frankly. I mean, look, I'm a fighter. You know that about me. And, you're going to have to, pry my sword from my cold, dead hands, right? Because, that's just who I am. But it's refreshing to see someone who understands it really does come down to, even if you have one follower, speak up. And part of the problem in this country, I would argue, since 2008, perhaps even earlier, is we have been cowed into silence. And the silent majority needs to get off their ass and speak up, or we're going the way of the UK, or we're going the way of France. What say you?
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. I love her passion. I love that she, is just telling it like it is, telling the truth, regardless of the consequences. That's the kind of courage that we need to see from people, from leaders, from so-called leaders. And so that's really inspiring. Now, I'm also hungry, by the way.
So what is it?
Also
so what do you think?
Hungry.
Well, we didn't get into all. I mean, she's a phenomenal cook. We didn't get into any of that. But what do you think? Melissa Mayo for president? I'm got my vote, right? I mean, you want the first woman president? Let's see: Kamala Harris, Melissa Mayo. I go with Melissa Mayo. But,
it's got a good alliteration too. It works.
Absolutely. It rolls off the tongue nicely. I want to go back to something she brought up, though, because actually I was going to cover it anyways. The part of the problem is there's genocide going on in Africa. They're killing Christians by the thousands, and they have been. And this is Boko Haram, and there's another Muslim group as well. There's another group in Bangladesh. They're killing Hindus by the thousands. These are genocides, right? Israel kills 100 people. It's a genocide. In self-defense, they're killing, people, and taking out terrorists, and they call it a genocide, yet there's no coverage. And if you look, it's in the media, it's in the newspaper, right? I don't make this stuff up, right? I mean, you're talking about in Nigeria, in the Sudan. Nigeria is one of the deadliest places on earth to be a Christian, right? Nearly 5,000 Christians were killed for their faith in 2023. 82% of those were in Nigeria. Then they go into the Sudan. Then they go into the Hindus it's the Fulani militants in also, as well as Boko Haram. So it's just,
wow.
It amazes me that the forget about the U.S. media, who are, in my opinion, compromised is a better word. I was going to say corrupt, but I think they're not corrupt. I think they're compromised, right? They're certainly not unbiased. And Edward R. Murrow, the follower of American journalism, would roll over in his grave, because they're not honest brokers of information, as we like to say.
That's right.
But across the world, did you ever listen to some of the international news bureaus? Find one that defends Israel's right to defend itself. Find one that covers the other genocides, or the genocides that are going on, other than the alleged one that supposedly Israel's committing, right? Genocide in Bangladesh, the genocide, the Uyghurs in Asia, right? The genocide that the Chinese are inflicting on the Uyghurs. I mean, it's just, but nobody covers it.
Because it's not beneficial to them. It doesn't help create unrest. That would be the kind of thing that would unite Americans against a common enemy. And you can't have that, Robert. So we can't cover those things. I'm a Christian, and I didn't know about those things. I didn't hear about those things. And so when, how is it that Candace Owens is out here saying Christians are the most persecuted religious people in the world, and people are laughing about it like it's a joke?
No, this is a religious war. That's what people do. First of all, they don't want to use the word war, and they don't certainly want to say it's a religious war. But anyone who doesn't understand what's really going on here is basically cannon fodder, right?
Yeah.
You are going to be casualties of war, unfortunately, when this breaks out, because this is a war between the West, the Judeo-Christian values, let's call them, upon which the West was founded, right? We talk about it. That's what American exceptionalism really is. Because if you look at the founding documents, or you look at the Declaration of Independence, and you look at the U.S. Constitution, God is strewn throughout there, not a denominational God, right? It's not the God of the Christians or the God of the Jews. It's just the creator, right? We are endowed by our creator. You can put whatever label you want on it, right? Hashem, whoever you want to put. We're endowed by our creator with these inalienable rights. That's the evolution of America, right? Is that the power flows from God through the people to the government, and that's what they hate.
Yep. Because they can't, then they can't control us. You're right. That because they can't control us. And Robert, it may not be sexy to say in too many circles, but this really is a battle of good versus evil. And
you said the word. We're going to get banned. You can't say evil. I agree with you. No. I said it this morning. I was on a radio show and I said, this is evil. If you can't call it out for what it is, we've lost our humanity.
And the Bible says there are powers and principalities other than God, right? So God, Yahweh, the Bible admits that there is nasty stuff out there. And it just so happens, hold on, my tinfoil hat. That
can you send me one of those? Where's my tin? By the way, that's a hat with some tinfoil on the front, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a tinfoil hat. I want a hat that's totally made of tinfoil, because then maybe it's like radio waves. I can. Yeah, of course.
They're finding like the places where there's a bunch of alien activity is where there's also a high volume of people who are into the occult. And so, you've got Hollywood recently. I can't remember which show it was, but the producers were on an interview show talking about how they were using actual incantations in the show. So you've got literal witch freaking wizardry coming into your house, and you just think you're watching television. And then we wonder why all these people are going crazy and losing their minds and depressed and hating life. I just, if we talk about a spiritual attack, about religious attack,
Look, we're going to say this till we're blue in the face. Wokeism is a religion. It has all the tenets, TENET. It has all the trappings of religion, including religious garb with a mask. It has the intolerance of a new religion that it always does. It is. You cast out the infidels, much like Islam. And by the way, infidel, kafir means unclean. You are the infidel, right? Your infidelity. You are unfaithful. You are unfaithful to the book. In this case, the Quran, right? The one thing that I do have to say that I wish I still had Melissa on here, but the Quran actually, in two places I know of, since I've read the Quran, in two places that I know of, says death to the death to the infidels. That it's okay to kill the unbelievers, right? Now and remind me on another show.
Religion.
Remind me on another show. I'll quote you chapter and verse, right, of where it is. But there's at least two places that I'm aware of that I recall from this. And if people don't understand that this is a battle of civilizations. This is a battle of cultures. And right now, that's the whole. We're going to end this show where we started it, right? And there's so much I wanted to cover, including, will the real Tim Walz please stand up, which I hope we get to in a couple minutes, because that's the other craziness that they're trying to. They're trying to pass this guy off on a moderate. Well, the moderate was Josh Shapiro, if you wanted to pick the Jewish governor in Pennsylvania, as opposed to the China-loving radical wokester who comes across as this good old boy, Midwesterner. When you look at his policies, the stolen valor guy. But in any event, this really is a battle between good versus evil. And what this is, they're now in this country, right? People calling death to America are in this country, and you just kind of go, if that's not enough of a wake-up call, I don't know what is. They're storming the southern border. You have no idea who they are and where they are. And let's make a prediction. If Donald Trump wins in November, and I say if only because if it's a free and fair election, I think Trump wins this thing going away. I mean, I think that's simple. But if Donald Trump, in some way, shape, or form, is declared the winner of the presidential elections, can you imagine the violence that's going to erupt in this country? And,
I
and it's going to, and then Kamala Harris will start bailing out the rioters again, like she did during the Black Lives Matter riots.
Yeah, I fear for violence no matter who wins, to be honest with you. I feel like the
Wait a
American
minute.
people.
Wait a minute. Donald Trump was almost assassinated. Did you see any violence?
No, but I did see January 6th. I mean, we have to have a real conversation. There was a riot at the Capitol. And I'm not even saying I don't understand why people were there rioting. But I can tell you that right now, with the way that things are after Kamala Harris was installed and not elected, you know what I mean? Like, are you telling me that the American people are just going to sit back and be like, oh, okay. Oh, we're just going to accept this election?
But by the
Yeah.
way, they're now saying that there are polls showing that Kamala Harris is pulling ahead of Donald Trump in Florida. You want to know how much that they've got their thumb on the scale in a state that now has a million, the Democrats? They're trying to convince people that, oh, she's the second coming. Yeah, she's the second coming of Obama. And remember, her new nickname is Commie Harris, right? I mean, we're just going to shorten the first name because, between Commie Harris with a K and Commie Walls with a C, right? I mean, it's like it's the Commie twins, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're?
Yeah.
It makes me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, did you see? I know we're running out of time. Did you see?
Oh,
So
no,
Tim Walz.
we got like 7 more minutes.
Do we really? It's this 10-minute warning,
Yeah.
pivoting to the events. Oh, okay. You're supposed to send a link, by the way, if you're reading your chat, just because Lord Benjamin is ahead of all of us in all of this.
Oh, okay.
So I do want to, since we have the time, thank you, Lord Benjamin. I want to go to, I grew up in the 60s where you had all these game shows like What's My Line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of thing. Well, will the real Tim Walz please stand up?
Please stand up. Please
Right?
stand up.
Right, because that's at the end of What's My Line, right? With a real, because people. I know I'm dating myself because no one else will. I get that part.
Well, hey,
But
it made me think of the Eminem song. So, but I'm with you for both. You.
So you're old like I am. So Tim Walz not only lied about carrying weapons of war, he also has a very close and intimate relationship. I don't mean sexually intimate people. I mean friendly intimate. Okay, just so we're clear, with a Muslim cleric who praised Adolf Hitler online, is allied with the Muslim Brotherhood and obviously the Islamic terrorist group Hamas as well. And his name is, let me see if I got this right. His name is Assad Zaman, Zaman, who, if you look him up online, on top of everything else, the state of New Hampshire God forbid, the state of Minnesota gave this organization $100,000 of state money. Now, this is a group allied with the Muslim Brotherhood, was praising the attacks of October 7th, are pro-Hamas supporters in all of this, and they're getting from Tim Walz as the governor $100,000.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Okay.
Well, didn't he also change the flag to look more like the Somali flag?
I do believe that is correct, because this is still the land of Ilhan Omar as well. And then, by the way, do you know that? So Tim Walz also lived in China, taught in China, honeymooned in China. Now, I'm not saying that he's a Chinese stooge, but let's see. Joe Biden in China, Hunter Biden in China, Tim Walz in China. Now, follow the money, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, I want Lord Benjamin to look up, what is Tim Walz's net worth? And when did he get it? And how did he get it? That I want to know.
All right. I don't know if we can get all that quickly. At least we can probably get his net worth, but that's a really good question.
Right.
China seems to be like a common link with a bunch of these super shady people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
so
here you go.
Tim Walz is 41st governor.
So
has a
net worth of under $1 million according to 2019. Not anymore. What's his net worth today?
What is it now? Okay, Benjamin.
I think Lord Benjamin will look it up.
Okay, he's looking.
So
he's looking.
Right. And then last but not least, August 19th through the 22nd. You know what has happened on those dates?
Vacation.
Come on, you can do it.
For me.
Ooh, how about a vacation for me?
I want
I
a
think I need a vacation.
I need a vacation.
The DNC convention in Chicago.
Oh, right.
How could you forget? Really?
I was
Erica
actually,
who? Erica
yeah.
who? What's your name again? Erica
We
who?
were we
So
were thinking about flying up there to cover it, and then we remembered that there's no concealed carry reciprocity, and we decided that we didn't want to die.
not in Illinois. So these pro-Hamas groups have applied for permits to protest at the convention and were issued these permits almost immediately by the city of Chicago. A pro-Israel group called the Israeli American Council applies for a permit and they're stonewalled. They have no permit. Now, look, that's about a week old. So maybe in the last week they got their permit, but these pro-Hamas groups are going to be protesting all throughout the convention, and a pro-Israel group somehow or another cannot get a permit to rally support or pro-Israel support at the Democratic National Convention. How is that? Come on.
Look,
wait. I asked the questions. You're supposed to have the answers.
I don't have any answers for you, Robert. I don't have any answers for you. I'm not surprised though. None of it surprises me. The Democrats don't care about you. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about their voters. Again, I'm a broken record in this episode. Kamala Harris was installed. She was not voted for. She was not elected.
She's not won a single primary. There's not even a single vote cast for her.
Yeah.
Because she dropped out of the Democratic primary, if you remember. Right?
Yep. Yeah, before I believe
in 2020,
before any votes were cast.
Before any votes were cast, because Tulsi Gabbard ate her lunch at the debate.
Ate her lunch.
So you have someone, by the way, rumor has it, and I'm going to stay with rumor as opposed to other sources that I sometimes have, that Tim Walz was picked by one person and one person only. You want to take a guess? He's got three initials. They're BHO.
Barack Obama.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I'm not trying to gender insult
you. Are you? How dare you assume my gender?
Exactly.
Did you ask me my pronouns, Robert?
By the way, I think before we assume anyone's genders, we should see their genitalia first, right? Then you can figure out their gender, don't you think? Excuse me. And if you show me your genitalia, then I can figure out what your gender is, don't you think?
You know what? I'm with it, and here's why. It used to be let me do what I want.
Is this after hours?
It should be. If it used to be, let me do what I want in the privacy of my own bedroom. And then it went from that to let me bring what I do in the privacy of my bedroom out to the public and celebrate me for it. You know what? Let's make people really uncomfortable. You know what? How about you have to show me all of your business? Okay, Benjamin is giving us the 1 minute warning.
Oh no, say it's not over.
He's giving us the 1 minute warning, and he hasn't given me an updated net worth, so I'm curious.
That's okay.
It's clearly
we'll
more.
Do it. We'll do it next show. We'll lead off.
We'll bring it back, you guys.
Okay, Erica, take us home.
Where
can they find us?
You guys check us out on all of the social medias. We're most prolific on Twitter and Rumble, the free speech platforms where we can actually talk about the fun stuff. So if you're watching this video and you've been watching for this long, we thank you very much. Please like the video to let the algorithm know that you appreciated the content. Feel free to leave some hate comments because, hey, all engagement is good engagement. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. And most importantly, have a great day. Make it a good one. And love your family.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you next week.